One day, my dad threw my keys on the floor and told me to move out because my brother needed the room. My mom asked if I'd still be paying rent and utilities since it was only fair. I didn't argue. I left, cancelled every payment in my name, and changed all the account logins they had used for years. Within a week, their electricity and internet were disconnected, and my brother texted, "Mom says you should fix this." I simply replied, "Not my house, not my problem."
Then maybe he should just get out if he's so unhappy here. My father's voice cuts through the living room like a blade. The air smells like burnt toast and dust. My hands are still shaking from holding my car keys. The same keys he just threw on the floor. Mom's standing by the counter, half crying, half whispering, "Please, stop shouting." But he doesn't stop. He never does. Dad's jaw tightens. "You've had that room long enough. Your brother needs space. You're grown. You can manage on your own." I stay quiet. That's what I always do. The silence makes him angrier. "You hear me, Will? Pack your things. I'm not asking." Mom chimes in, softer but sharper. "You'll still send your share for rent and utilities, right? It's only fair." Fair. That word hits harder than any slap. I stare at her, my mouth dry. "You want me gone, but still want my money?" No one answers. Only the faint hum of the refrigerator fills the room. Then my younger brother, Sean, smirks and says, "You act like we owe you something." I look at him, this smug, spoiled version of everything I'm not, and something shifts inside me. Not rage, not sadness, just stillness. Dad points to the door. "If you're staying silent, that's your answer. Move out." I nod once, then I bend, pick up my keys and walk out, leaving their silence behind me. But before I close the door, Mom mutters under her breath, "Ungrateful." That's the word that lights the fire. "Mini-hook," I whisper, almost to myself. "You'll understand grateful soon." They don't hear me, but they will. My name's William Rake. I'm 27, the quiet one. The one who fixes everything no one else can be bothered to touch. The one who pays the bills, keeps the passwords, remembers the birthdays, makes sure nothing breaks, even when it's already breaking inside me. I work in IT, which means every account, every payment, every login in that house went through me. Electricity, internet, insurance, all my name. Because William's responsible. Because William's smart. Because William won't say no. I never did. Until that night, they called it independence. I called it eviction. And the funny part? I didn't argue. I packed my bags, left my house key on the counter, and drove to a motel. Cheap sheets, humming AC, freedom. But as I stared at my phone that night, scrolling through all the bills linked to my name, I realized something. They depended on me more than they ever admitted. So I made a quiet decision. No yelling. No revenge plan. Just math and logic. I'd cancel every single thing I was paying for. I'd give them exactly what they asked for. A life without me. Mini-hook. And when the lights went out in that house, I'd be the only one not left in the dark. Family members introduced Dad, Richard Rake, 56. A man who believes authority is the same thing as love. He speaks in commands, not sentences. Do this. Be grateful. I worked for everything. Maybe once that was true, but now he just hides behind pride. Mom, Janice Rake, 52. A worrier, a pleaser, and the quiet manipulator. She cries to make others feel guilty, then says it's your fault she's upset. She used to tuck me in when I was little. Now she looks at me like a tenant. Sean, 23, the golden boy, dropped out of college but somehow still trying his best. He gets excuses I never did. He gets praise for breathing. When I was 23, I was working 2 jobs. When he's 23, he's taking my room. That night replayed in my head on loop. Dad shouting, Mom watching, Sean smiling. And through all of it, I stayed calm. Because I've seen this movie before. Every scene, every line. They push.
I break. They blame. I fix. Mini hook. But this time, I wouldn't fix it. This time, I'd let it all fall apart.
The first call came 2 days later, Mom's number flashing on my screen. "William," she started, voice shaking. "The internet isn't working. Did something happen?" I said, "Maybe the provider cut it off. Bill's in my name, remember?" A pause. Then, "You'll pay it, right? Just until we switch." "I won't," I said softly. "You told me to move out, so I moved my payments too." Click. Silence. Next day, Sean texted, "Bro, the power's off." "WTF did you do?" I didn't answer. Instead, I sat in my small apartment, sipping cheap coffee, and smiled for the first time in years. But behind that smile was a knot of pain. Because I didn't want revenge. I wanted recognition. I wanted someone to finally say, "We treated you wrong." It never came. Instead, I got another text. "Dad says you're being childish. He said you owe us for last month." I stared at that message and laughed. Not out of humor, out of disbelief. Mini hook. I realized they weren't just blind. They were comfortable living off the silence I built for them. A week later, I went back. Not to fight. Just to drop off some mail still sent to their address. When I walked in, the air was thick with candle smoke. Power still out. Sean sat on the couch, shirtless, holding his phone up like a torch. Mom was wrapped in a blanket. Dad was cursing at the breaker box. "Look who finally shows up," Dad said, glaring at me. "You enjoying this? Watching your family suffer?" "I didn't do anything," I said. "I just stopped paying for things that aren't mine." Sean jumped in. "You're petty, man! You think this makes you better?" "No," I said. "It just makes me done." Dad slammed the box shut. "You've always been ungrateful. You forget everything we did for you." I almost laughed. "Like charging me rent since I was 19? Like using my credit for your internet plan?" Mom whispered, "William, please don't talk like that in front of your brother." There it was again. Protect the favorite. I stood there, heart pounding, but my voice was calm. "Don't worry. You won't have to hear me again." I dropped the mail on the table and said quietly, "You should check what's inside." "It's addressed to you, Dad." Inside was a bank notice. The home insurance policy, cancelled that morning. I remember being 16, standing in the rain outside my school. Dad forgot to pick me up after practice. I called him 3 times. No answer. When I got home soaked, Mom said, "He's tired, William. Don't start an argument." That line became my childhood. Don't start an argument. When I turned 20, I gave Sean my college savings so he could try community college. He dropped out after 1 semester. Dad told me, "You're the older one. You'll get more chances." I never did. I built their world quietly, helping them file taxes, fix the car, update their phones, while they told everyone how independent Sean was. And every time I thought about confronting them, I'd hear Mom's voice. "Don't make things difficult, Will." So I learned to make things easy. Easy for them. Hard for me. That night in my apartment, I realized they never wanted me quiet because I was wrong. They wanted me quiet because I was right. A week later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was the mortgage company. "Mr. Rake," the voice said, "your cosigner status needs to be updated. The payment's overdue." My stomach dropped. Cosigner? Turns out, Dad had used my credit years ago, forged my name to refinance the house. Every month, I'd been paying utilities that were actually his mortgage installments. My silence had been funding his lie. I drove back to that house one last time. They were sitting at the table in the dark, arguing. When I dropped the notice in front of them, Mom gasped. "William, you weren't supposed to find that." Dad barked. "I did what I had to do. You should be grateful I kept a roof over your head." "No," I said quietly. "I paid for that roof. You just lived under it." And then I told them something I hadn't told anyone. I'd already reported the forged signature. And the house? was no longer theirs. Dad shouting, Mom crying, Sean pacing, me, calm, watching the walls crack, literally and emotionally. "You ruined this family!" Dad screamed. "No," I said. "You built it on lies." Mom tried to grab my hand. "Please, William, we can fix this. We're family." I pulled away. "Family isn't supposed to use each other." Sean glared at me. "You think you're some hero? You just burned down your own home." I looked around the dark kitchen. It stopped being home a long time ago. Then I said it, the line that ended everything. "I gave you all my silence. Tonight, I give you the truth." And then I walked out, leaving their voices echoing behind me. As I stepped into the cold night, my phone buzzed. Sean's message. "Mom says you should fix this." I typed back. "Not my house, not my problem."
My new apartment was small, but quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't hurt. I started cooking for myself, taking long walks, sleeping without headphones for the first time in years. Freedom didn't come with fireworks. It came with peace. One evening, Mom called from an unknown number. "I just wanted to say..." She paused. "We didn't mean to hurt you." I sighed. "You just didn't think I'd ever stop letting you." She cried quietly. "We're losing everything, Will."
I wanted to say I know. Instead, I said, "Maybe it's time you learn what I did. How to start over." And I meant it. Not out of spite, but out of truth. Before hanging up, she whispered, "We miss you." For the first time, I didn't say I miss you too. Months passed. I heard through a neighbor that they moved into a smaller place. Sean finally got a job. Dad stopped calling. Mom sent one last text. "We're okay." And somehow, that was enough. I visited the old house once, from the street. It was empty. Quiet. Just a building now. Not a memory. I stood there and thought, I spent years keeping their lights on, and all it took was one blackout to finally see clearly. As I turned to leave, I felt lighter. For the first time, I wasn't their provider, their scapegoat, or their silence. I was just William. Final line, echo. For the first time, I don't carry their weight anymore. You know, family can break you in ways no stranger ever could. But sometimes, walking away isn't giving up. It's finally choosing yourself. If you were in my place, would you forgive them? Or would you walk away forever? Tell me in the comments. Your voice matters here. Share your thoughts. Like if you felt William's pain. Subscribe for more stories that speak to the quiet ones, the ones who finally chose peace over chaos.